So let's talk about content labeling. When someone visits a website, they already know what they want from it. Okay. And as we've discussed, they have a pre-existing mental model of how the site works, how content is organized, what things are going to be called. Good labeling, okay, in navigation menus, in page titling and links and buttons helps people quickly and accurately predict what they'll get before they click, before they tap, before they do anything. The more descriptive the label and the closer it is to what that person would call it, the higher the chance is that they'll interact with it because they recognize it. Deciding on what navigation category or link to click or tap requires cognitive effort, okay? On every screen, the user has to compare and review what's available to them. They have to decide which one is the right one. That process often happens in seconds, okay? It's subconscious, but it can still be very exhausting, particularly when that person doubts that he's making the right decision in the first place. Take a look at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office example here, okay? What if I don't know what mobile USPTO or XML resources are or what they mean? I mean, aren't patents and trademarks the primary services this organization offers? Isn't it a little strange that those two things aren't in the products and services menu? I mean, none of this stuff has a direct relation to the purpose of the website or the primary product and service which people come to the site to buy. Being wrong, all right? When I choose wrong, if I choose one of these and it's the wrong path, that causes fatigue and it causes frustration. And in turn, that causes people to leave the site and look for one that's more clearly labeled. The primary job of labeling is to instill confidence. The more confident a user feels that they can get to what they need, the more likely they are to spend time doing so. In situations like this is how third-party organizations like LegalZoom, for example, spring up because it's easier to just pay them to deal with all this ambiguity, right? Rather than spend, 3 months out of your life trying to figure out what this process is. Clients will often, as I've said, default to industry terminology, okay, which are acronyms, jargon, because it's second nature to them. Even though USPTO stands for U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, there's no obvious relationship there. It's not obvious that everyone who looks at this website is going to know what XML is. The reason companies do this, the reason organizations do this, is because they're experts in their domain, okay? They're inundated with this language for 40 hours or more every week. It's very natural to them. It's very easy for them to assume that this same internal vernacular is understood by people outside their walls. Because of that, it is our job to guide them, okay, by asking some very simple questions when it comes to category, subcategory, link, and call to action labeling. And they're simple questions. Is that what your customers would call it? What category would users expect to find that in? What's the action they're actually taking when they click this button? For instance, the button is labeled Get Started. Well, what does that mean? What exactly am I doing? What process am I starting? What is happening as a result of my clicking this button? Am I going to fill out a form next? Am I going to sign away my firstborn? What is happening? Okay, that has to be described. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Good content labeling is all about choosing labels that are useful. Okay, what do we mean by useful? Well, it means you choose clear, descriptive words and phrases. You err on the side of boring. You strive for simplicity, accuracy, clarity. When labels are vague, people will click the wrong link and never find what they came for. Okay, I've seen people in usability labs blow right past category names that were actually the thing that they were after. If your labels are full of jargon, if they're esoteric, they leave what's called weak information scent. I can't tell what that is or where it goes. For example, when category names like support and solutions appear together, people get tripped up because they can't accurately predict what information lies behind them because they can't tell the difference between solution and support. Okay, both terms are interpreted to have similar meaning. That's what I mean by clear, descriptive, and unique. Don't make up words or terms. Don't be clever. Don't be cute. Stick to commonly used terms, okay? No one cares how clever you are. About us, for example, is a much more common phrase than company experience. Users know what to expect when they see about us. They know what that is. They know what it means, and they know what they're going to get if they click it. Labeling for understanding in that way improves reaction time, which is important because everybody expects to be able to move quickly. Next, don't overlap categories. Category labels should be distinct and descriptive. They can't be too broad, they can't be too narrow, they can't be too vague or infer shared meaning. Like a minute ago, we talked about solutions and services. Okay, I had a client recently who had both solutions and services as one nav item and products as another nav item in their main nav. Both categories were the least clicked thing on the site. You know why? Because they're ambiguous. The two terms are nearly interchangeable. It's not obvious what the difference is. And when people get confused, they do nothing. Make sure your organizational scheme makes sense to your users. Okay, no model numbers. And here's what I mean by that. I've seen several large organizations arrange products by model number or mirror the organizational chart in terms of the way that the products are actually manufactured. Okay, these are great examples of what not to do. Nobody is going to remember a string of 11 letters and numbers. They will remember that they need an industrial nailer that uses X kind of nails and has, carries a charge for 3 hours, whatever it is. These things, make perfect sense to the site's creators. But to people visiting the site, their way of identifying something is completely different. Finally, don't rely on your own opinions, okay? Test. Whenever possible, you want to test names with users to make sure that they can accurately predict what each category is and what it includes. Tree testing exercises are a great way to get that feedback, okay? Even with a small group of 20 people, you'll get a solid idea of how to structure your IA so that people can navigate it effectively. And we're going to discuss tree testing, okay, in an upcoming section, which is called Socializing and Validating IA Decisions. I'm going to walk you through that process and show you just how valuable it is.